How you doing, everybody, and welcome to NinjaToons, where the martial arts meets the creative arts. I'm Michael Voog, the Art Ninja, and this is Walk-Thru Wednesday, How to Draw the Roadrunner. Meep, meep. So to wrap up Speedster September, we started off with Vanellope von Schweetz, then we did Sonic the Hedgehog. Last week we worked on Lightning McQueen, and now we're gonna work on the Roadrunner. So let's get started. Roadrunner starts with the letter R. So when you draw this letter R, see where I'm starting here in the bottom half of the page. So I want you to draw this modified R. Keep the legs of the R small. Just like this. And this is going to be the Roadrunner's body. So using the letter R. The next step is going to add the Roadrunner's thighs. And we're going to give him a really long neck. The Roadrunner has a really long neck. So use C curves to create this neck, this long neck of the Roadrunner. And just like any speedster, he has a little bit of an attitude. He just does it in a really cute way. Then we're gonna draw on the Roadrunner's wings. And now for the Roadrunner's head, he's gonna be more of a diamond shape. Now he's looking kind of back at us because he just dusted the Coyote. If you haven't seen classic Wile E. Coyote versus the Roadrunner, gotta check that out. Gonna draw on his eye line. And then we're gonna put in his long eyes. Gonna add his beak. You're gonna use that C curve. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see this. It's gonna go up into the Roadrunner's smile. This is gonna be his bottom jaw. That looks pretty awesome. We're gonna give him some eyebrows. And then his cheek. Now, a characteristic of the Roadrunner is he has these crazy feathers that are on the top of his head, this huge tail that just fans in the wind as he's running by, and really long legs. So he's got his long legs, his long neck, so let's draw that in next. You can use these long triangle shapes to capture his legs. Then he has his claws. Just like Sonic, he has really big feet and skinny legs, just to make sure he has sure footing as he's running past us. All right, so we got his body in, we see that it fits along the page. Now let's add his hair feathers and his tail feathers. For his hair feathers, think about a big C curve that's trailing in the wind. So we have Roadrunner running from the left to the right, and then we have this really big hair feathers Okay, and you just use this crescent shape here, kind of like a banana. And then for his tail, we're gonna use an S-curve. And it's gonna fan down like this, kind of pointing back toward his toe. Now, if you remember in our 2-minute tips, remember to sketch lightly and loosely, but slide your hand across the canvas, making a nice smooth S-curve. And this gives us the overall shape of the feathers. Now, we're gonna add some individual feathers. And you don't need to add every single one, just clusters. And do the same thing for his tail. So now that we've laid in our basic sketch, we see that the proportions are working really nicely, and we can spend a little more time refining our sketch before we move to the cleanup. What I mean by that is that we can start to tighten up our sketch by adding in things like his toenails. We can round his toes a little bit, and even with birds like chickens or even the roadrunner, there's a contour line that goes around the toes. So if you see me zooming in here on the toes, remember this toe is just a really long cylinder, so use those contour lines that we talked about in the 2-minute tip Tuesday to let the viewer know that this is a round object, or it's cylindrical. Same thing with his roadrunner legs. And you can vary up the distance just for visual interest. Some lines farther apart, some C curves close together. Then we're gonna do the same thing here on his toes. Give him his toenail. They're almost like hands. And then we're gonna add our curves. Notice we left out his tongue there. Now that completes our basic sketch. And it's okay that we took a little more time to refine the sketch, because the clearer our sketch, the easier it's gonna be during our cleanup. And I think it's looking pretty nice. How's your drawing turning out? If you're not 100% happy with it, that's okay. Make the corrections now, because the cleaner your drawing is, the easier it's gonna be during our cleanup. And if you remember from this week's 2-minute tip Tuesday, cleaning up your cleanup, this will give you a perfect opportunity to practice what you learned. So let's get started. So normally with cleanup, I usually like to start with the face. So I'm gonna zoom in here and let's get started on cleaning up the roadrunner. As we talked about in Tuesday's 2-minute tip, you do want to take your time with this. And you can also turn your canvas. Remember I talked about that. Draw in a way that's comfortable for you. If it's easier to turn your paper a little bit, do that. Now we'll add in his eyebrows. And the outside of his head. Now I'm going to continue on with this cleanup. Catch me at the end of this step. So come in here and check this out. Here's a pro tip. Take a look at this cleanup, and there's something that I noticed about my cleanup. See this line that comes across here through his back leg into his wing? Now, this looks like I drew through to his wing, and it just doesn't look right. So, what I'm gonna do, again, it's okay to erase during your cleanup. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this line, and I'm gonna bring it a little more, I think I'm gonna bring it a little more forward. So I'm gonna bring it out here like this. And by doing that, it breaks up that line, and it is a little bit clearer, it reads clearer for the viewer. See that? Remember that S-curve. Slide your hand across the paper. And then you want to pull. See that? Even if you turn your paper upside down like I'm doing right now, that's okay. Pull the line toward you. And then taper it. See the taper right here? See that? Pull. We can even look at these lines right here and see the same thing. So maybe finishing up this line, maybe a little bit higher. Let's erase this line. And let's bring it up just a little bit higher. There you go. All right. Now that we finished our cleanup, let's move on to our color. Now remember, from this week's 2-Minute Tip Tuesday, we want to make sure that we're coloring all in the same direction. So we're going to start with his feathers on the top of his head, color all in one direction. And then remember to keep it light, because when we add shadows later, we can use our technique, cross-hatching, to create those values. So let me get the flat colors in for Roadrunner, and I'll catch you at the end of this step. So that finishes up the flat colors for Roadrunner. The next step is determining the light source so we can draw in our shadows and our highlights. So we're gonna have it coming from the top again, but another way to create depth and add some shadows is by coloring in darker those limbs that are in the back. So arms that are closest to us, we're not gonna color as dark as those limbs or legs that are behind. So watch this and you'll see what I mean. For Roadrunner's legs, his front leg is coming toward us, or is closer to us. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cross hatch and darken up his back leg. And that's gonna create a little bit of depth. So the front leg has a lighter value, and the leg in the back, or the rear leg, the leg in the distance, will have a darker value, so it'll appear to be more in shadow. The same thing's going to apply right here to his thigh. So let's take our blue and we're going to cross hatch in the other direction. So applying cross hatching to his thigh, it looks like it's more in shadow than the front leg. Now let's do this with his beak as well. Sometimes, based on the value of your color, you may want to take it a little bit darker or choose a second color to create that shadow effect. Now, if you remember from Lightning McQueen's lesson, how to create highlights, there were two things I talked about. First is you just don't put any color in a section that you want to have as a highlight. And I did that here with his eyes. You notice I didn't put any black here in the upper corner of his eyes. The other technique was to use your eraser. Now, if you're using colored pencils that are erasable, you can do this. So let's put a little highlight on his beak, maybe a little highlight on his eyebrow. We could even do it up here in his feathers. And even on his tail. We'll have some light that's hitting his wings and even part of his neck. His legs. So there you have it. That wraps up Speedster September. Hope you've enjoyed this month of Speedster characters, and this was how to draw a Roadrunner for Walk-Thru Wednesday. Now stay tuned, because for the month of October, we're gonna have all kinds of Halloween characters. So if you like this video, let us know by striking that like button, and if you're not a subscriber yet, make sure you smash that subscribe button, and leave a comment in the section below. Let us know what characters would you like us to draw for the month of October. Until next time, remember your ABCs, always be creating, make it a great day everybody, and stay tuned for more videos. Arigato!